Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this evening's Wacky Woo. With me, of course, is the one and only remote viewer extraordinaire, Mr. Dick ALLGIRE. You can find his work at futureforecastinggroup.com, and you can find him on YouTube as well here at Future Forecasting Group. Dick, Mr. ALLGIRE, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm good, Jean-Claude. It's always great to talk with you. Let me read something funny. I've gotten to the point where we have staff that helps us keep track of things. So they wrote a bio for me. Do you want me to? I'll read my own bio. Now I didn't write this.
Okay.
So I'm only reading it, and this is the short version. Let me call this up. Okay. Meet Dick ALLGIRE, a former network newsman turned time-bending truth seeker. By day, he was a trusted face on ABC News Honolulu for over 30 years, reporting live on CNN, ABC, and CBS. But after hours, Dick ALLGIRE was training under a former military psychic spy, mastering a covert remote viewing method that lets you see things across space and time. Today, he's left the news desk behind and stepped fully into the unknown. As the head of Future Forecasting Group, he now leads the most successful remote viewing team on the planet, predicting headlines before they happen, mapping crypto market moves, and uncovering hidden history. With hundreds of documented double-blind sessions and millions of views, Dick ALLGIRE isn't just talking about the edge of human perception. He's living on it. That's actually not a bad... I didn't write that.
That's a great intro. I'll use that next time. And folks, you have to add to that intro this little video here.
Oh, the Tom Selleck
one. Well, hold on. Where did you go?
There you go.
There you have it, guys. Our modern day Tom Selleck is in the house. Mr. Magnum. Welcome back.
That is classic. You did such a good job on that. That always just cracks me up.
So guys, thank you so much for watching tonight and joining us for this live interactive show. We are triple casting right now on YouTube X and also on Rumble. We might drop the YouTube feed during the show if we get into some treacherous waters with some of our
careful what we say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll take your questions and maybe some comments as we go throughout the show. I have a few things, Dick. I've been following your Twitter and your YouTube channel here, and there's a couple of latest remote viewings you did that kind of piqued my attention. So I do want to bring those up for your attention. But before I do that, I think maybe if we take 5 minutes here to look at the situation, this last 2 weeks seems to have escalated quickly, and now we're seeing camps basically on both sides of the fence. Some suggesting that what Trump just did in Iran, bombing those 3 nuclear sites here in the last couple of days, really has removed and neutered Netanyahu's narrative of, hey, we have to continue this war here to remove all the nuclear threats. And the other camp are saying, oh no, Trump made a big mistake, and this is now perhaps opening the gate to these terror cells, sleeper cells that might already be here in the United States and other military bases around the world could be in harm's way out of this. And this leads into some of the narrative that was being picked up years ago in Cliff High's WebBot data, which was entitled The Israeli Mistake. Now, having said all that, looking at all this, of course, there's propaganda on both sides. We're inundated with it on a daily, hourly basis in the last couple of weeks here. Where do you find yourself? Where are we in all of this right now?
Okay. I have to be very careful because I'm a remote viewer. So I have my remote viewing data, which is over here. And as a remote viewer, we get some very specific, it's basically what we're tasked to look at. And we do it, we're not omniscient. We're not all-seeing, all-knowing psychic. So we pick some things up with some degree of accuracy, but we have to be tasked. And I'm very careful to say that remote viewing doesn't give you all knowledge. Now, because of my remote viewing, I've developed other sources that are not remote viewing data that tell me the bigger picture about where we're going. So in terms of remote viewing, we do monthly predictions. We look ahead and we try to get images and ideas about what's going to be in the news. We had people on the streets rioting for June, and that happened in Los Angeles and other places.
Yeah.
Daz Smith, one of our great remote viewers, said, war is coming, war headlines. Naeem Vendreas had big explosion, mushroom clouds. We were on fire this month with our hits. So that's very specific in terms of what's ahead. I'm about to do in the next 3 days, I'm going to be doing remote viewing sessions on what we see for July. And the burden of that it is so crazy because there's so much noise. We have so much expectation of what's going to happen. So
Right.
I really need to cool myself down and ideally put me in a box for 4 days and let me just get everything out of my mind. Okay, so that's remote viewing. The bigger picture, some of my sources who have been telling me for years what's coming is that it's all going to come apart. And this year is going to be a pivotal year as we move to a new method of administering the human race on the planet Earth, that nation states are going to fall by the wayside, and that the way that's going to be accomplished is through catastrophic weather and earth changes, volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, weather events, war, distrust, loss of faith in government, loss of faith in institutions, loss of faith in education, justice, politics. And we're seeing that happen.
Oh yeah.
So we're living right in it right now. This is like wild times to be alive.
Wild times, and I could just imagine. I'll speak from my experience here doing these shows. I figure I find in the last 6 months or so, it's getting harder and harder for me to do these live shows, these nice live news shows where I'm bringing all of these pieces of data together in a cogent, intelligent, hopefully, conversation with my guests and with my audience, simply because of the sheer overload of news coming in on a daily basis that I have to track, and I'm finding myself a little bit slower or irritated now doing these live news
Yeah.
shows because I can't point to it fast enough. The scroll on my Twitter, for example, is 10 times longer than it was maybe just 4 months ago on a daily basis. So there's just so much of it. So I'm wondering for you, doing the remote viewing sessions, also trying not to be polluted by the sheer magnitude of emotional values coming through and
Yeah.
tension coming through. How are you
And-
guys dealing with all of this?
Well, it's difficult. And also I want to the interconnectedness of everything probably is one of
Right.
the things you're struggling with, because you might do a show on financial, like gold and silver, cryptos, or you might do a show on what's happening with the wars. But now it's all becoming this jumble of just information overload. So that's difficult.
Right.
For as a remote viewer, the most difficult things these days is doing the partially front-loaded news. Like, okay, I know I'm going to present 12, 15 pages of data on the top news events of July. So what do? Oh man, I try to not think about the news. I try to meditate. I sit here and these are my headphones right here where I put on a theta track.
Yeah.
And I'll sit there for 30 minutes and just try to clear my mind. And then I give it a target ID, which for me is NFE 724, which will be near future events, July 24th. So I go NFE 724 and I calm myself down and I wait for images to appear. And then I sketch them out and then I probe them. In June, I saw a lot of people. And I looked again and I realized they're holding signs and they're lighting fires. They're putting things on fire. They're in an American city. It's political demonstrations gone wrong. And then you kind of eke it out step by step, but probe by probe. That's really difficult. And that's not real remote viewing because it's partially front loaded. The easier ones are when we're just given target, be anything, anywhere, anytime, future, past, present. They'll give us like A1, B2, C4, D7, like remote view that. And then we just sit down and let it come. And it might be a famous person from the Middle Ages, an event that changed human history 4 centuries ago. It might be what geophysical changes are happening 10 years from now. So that's much easier to do, because as you function as a remote viewer, you have to have a moment where you have no expectations, where it's a null moment, where anything that comes to you, you accept it.
Right.
Those are actually easier. And we're going to look at one tonight, which was, they gave me a target ID, and I all of a sudden was seeing miniaturized electronics, and it was the helium-3 target. So
we're gonna get into the moon, folks. Okay,
yeah,
hold that thought. Hold up.
Yeah,
hold that
that's
thought
a
for-
teaser. That's a
Yeah,
teaser.
that's a good teaser. Hold that thought for a moment. I want to go back a little bit here, because for a number of years, you had put out this Death of the Dollar remote viewing, and I have to go back to it now, looking at some of the other temporal markers, if we want to call them that are in the process of happening now, or have already happened. And what was interesting to me over the last weekend was Trump erecting 2 flags in front of the White House and in the back of the White House, the North and South Pole axes. And this was just after having this huge military parade in DC. And so a lot of the conspiracy theorists out there and shows who are trying to analyze what's actually taken place are coming to the conclusion that it could be a tie-in to this particular slide here, where we're talking about these emergency meetings, shock, disbelief, ruin, catastrophe, sense of adjourning for the last time, transfer of power. Could it be, Dick? Let me see if I can bring up the slide here. This was part of the equipment coming in for the parade, but this is the tweet by Trump here talking about these 2 flagpoles here. Now, typically, when you do that in a context of war, it's reclaimed territory. And so, in the context of what you just described, how we're changing the administration here of the planet, we have these 3 city states here around the world. Could it be that DC is no longer one of them? What did you make of all the signals here and the fact that Trump said on this very day that he went from being the hunted to now being the hunter? What do you make of this semaphore or all these comms here over the weekend, Dick?
Wow, that's a lot of symbology and a lot of hidden meaning. I haven't talked to my sources about the flags, but it may just be that Trump's like big flagpoles, and he wants to have a flag up there. But I would think it would be interesting if it had gold braid around the edges. I know that means something when he holds an event and has the gold flag. That's that international law or wartime, or there's a meaning
or
for
the
that.
maritime. Yeah.
Back to the slide where I had the Congress adjourning and the guy's being physically ill. My idea that I got from that was that they realized that they were out of business. Like they no longer were a functioning body. This event, and I don't think this has happened yet, is so catastrophic that they go like, they've adjourned for the last time. Like we're going into a new system, and they realize that they're out of power. That the dollar has so been degraded that the U.S. government is no longer functional. So that's what I'm looking for that sketch to come true. And I know everybody keeps bringing that sketch back up, but my interpretation of it is they're no longer in business.
They know, and they know the jig is up, and so too with the
they
public.
know it's up. It's like,
right.
We're done. We can't keep this charade up. We can't keep the game going any longer.
Right. And to that extent, I would agree to you that has not happened yet. I was suggesting that maybe the polls or suggesting that DC is no longer a city state could be leading up to that moment. Another item in the news just this week too that could lead up to that particular remote viewing of yours is this. Kash Patel, FBI director, talking about the 2020 election being rigged. And of course, here NBC News is saying, oh, he's fueling conspiracy theory. Hey, dude, he's the director of the FBI and he's bringing serious evidence to bear. evidence that no court wanted to hear during the 2021-22 time frame, where all the people were getting banned and removed for social media for even questioning the integrity of 2020 election. Now, here we are with the director of the FBI. Is this leading into that too, this transfer of power somehow? And these are laying down the stones for that pathway. Dick, what do you think?
One of the images I saw in upcoming news events that I think should happen within the next 90 days would be Pam Bondi at a podium speaking with flags behind her, with a chart, on a little easel, with charges against political rivals. So could have to do with the election, could be that here.
Sorry, you have that already in an RV? That's data you already.
Okay. I published that this month.
That's interesting because I wanted to bring that up. So this whole feud between Elon Musk and Trump in the last couple of weeks, of course, was made famous when Elon Musk said, hey, the reason Pam Bondi and company are withholding the Epstein list is because Trump's on it, right? Or words to that effect. And that ensued quite a bit of back and forth between Trump and Elon Musk on Twitter. And that tweet has since been, I guess, removed or suggested that perhaps they had went too far. So they seem to be cleaning up that conversation. But nonetheless, it put pressure on the public. And when I say the public, I don't mean the people watching this show. I mean mostly the normies and perhaps also the lefties who absolutely hate Trump, those who are still in the Trump derangement syndrome, to finally wake up and demand that we see that list. So suddenly there's more pressure than there ever was in releasing this information.
Yeah.
So your timing is what precisely on when this?
Well, let me send that to you right now. I didn't send that. Can I text that to you right now?
Sure. I'll bring it right on the deck. Yeah.
Okay. I just texted it to you. That was this month. I just published that, where I see. I mean, this is kind of low-hanging fruit. This is a no-brainer, but I think it's going to be significant where Pam Bondi holds a news conference, and I would say this would be within 90 days.
Okay.
Where it's a sensational charges, indictments of a political nature. It'll be called political, but this again gets to where we were just talking about you being overwhelmed by trying to make sense of everything that's so entangled,
right?
Because what is Pam Bondi going to charge? There's the election, there's insider trading. There's
the auto pen,
the
soulless robotic
crime family. There's the covering up for his being incapacitated. There's so much,
so many,
So
wow. So you say 90 days. That's interesting to me. And when did you do the reading? What would be the start date?
We published that 2 weeks ago, and it was for June events. But
okay,
what we found with remote viewing is we don't get a real linear delineation of time. Like in consciousness, there's no June 30th.
Right.
It's just this smear. And so we're pretty accurate out to 90 days. Some of the things that we've seen are, a year or two in the making, but I'm going to call 90 days within this. Okay. Here's another one that I've been looking for this one. We have so much work, and we're just starting to use AI to catalog it so that we can go back and find images. But I had near future images of a geopolitical nature in 2 sessions where I saw an American warship being hit by a missile, a warship sunk, and watch for that to happen. That would be either the false flag or really somebody hits it with a missile, but that would catalyze the U.S. to really go to war.
What was the Nimitz class carrier that was just sent out?
Yeah, I was going to say,
and everybody's saying, dude, that thing is due to be mothballed. Why are they sending it out? Perhaps as a false flag kind of target.
Because the slogan would be "Remember the Nimitz." Remember the Nimitz. They sink that, and
wow.
Yeah, I got to be careful about what I say about that. But I had data up where I clearly saw a U.S. warship going down. So that's a big marker. And that we'd be full on all the way into war if that happens.
Right.
It happened with got us into the Spanish-American War, the Maine. Remember
Yeah.
the Maine?
Yeah.
The Gulf of
Gulf
Tonkin,
Tonkin accident. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
9/11. So
Yeah.
that's another marker. So we're looking at the politicians knowing the jig is up and they can't keep the facade up anymore. Pam Bondi making political arrests, and warship getting sunk. Just to put that on the record for you.
When Cliff High said it was going to be a hot summer, we were like, what does he mean by that? I remember having him on at the end of last year, and he provided this chart for me. This was the weekly emotional tension values through 2025. And he said it's going to peak in June, JC. So we already have that peak here. Look at July, 93, 95. Like these are big values. August also. September, we have a small reprieve, but that's just back to the numbers we're at now, and crazy numbers already right now in terms of values. But then October, that big hit again. But to see that 90-day window here makes sense, perhaps even for July for that Pam Bondi conference there, looking at those.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well,
Now-
that would be the time frame that they need, because that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and all those folks are investigating these guys. And it
Yeah.
takes a while to bring a federal indictment. You don't just come into office and then drop in federal indictments. They want to have an ironclad. What's the federal government get? 95% conviction rate or something like that.
Right.
It takes them a while. So
Right.
you may not need to be a remote viewer to predict that one. They're going to, in 90 days would be the window, because that would give them like 9 months to have made their case.
Right. Can I ask you maybe your opinion? If you have remote data on it, remote viewing data on it, let me know. But even if it's just your opinion, in the last couple of weeks, we saw both Bongino and Kash Patel seemingly adamant that Epstein did in fact suicide himself. And it kind of goes contrary to most of the beliefs in our community. And I was wondering if this is a ruse of sort. Is this a contradiction of sort in order to maybe let some steam out to do an investigation in their direction, to not let people in on what's really happening behind the scenes? What do you think that was all about? Or is that kind of a walk of shame type of thing where they're doing a ritual? Like, it was just so weird.
I'll give you an interesting take.
Okay.
This is way different than anybody else would say.
Okay.
In my form of remote viewing, which was developed by U.S. Army Special Forces, they use neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which is partly the study of human faces and human eye movements. So I train myself as a remote viewer as I've working a target, and my subconscious is exposed to it. I know it because my subconscious already knows it, and I just need to remember it. So what I do is when I look and I probe for data, I go to the left, because that is visual recall, audio recall, kinesthetic recall. If you ask me, Dick, what color was your first car? I go red. And my eyes look up as I remember my red Volkswagen that I had in 1970. If you ask me, what did my mother's voice sound like, I would unconsciously go to the left. Okay, this is a long-winded answer. When people lie, when they make things up, visually in NLP, they go up and to the left. And we used to do exercises at Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild when I was training, where we would put someone in front of the class and they'd hold something in their hand, and the members of the class would ask them questions, and they would either tell a lie about it or truth, like, is it red? And people go, no. And their eyes would dart up, and you'd know they were lying. Police use this. I can watch politicians. If I'm telling a story and I'm telling you the truth, my eyes are going to go that direction. When someone's making something up, their eyes go this way. And when Dan Bongino, go back and watch, and Kash Patel, their eyes were going to construct. I don't believe them. I like them both, but I don't believe them.
So I'm on the same page with you, but extrapolate here opinion. And we could state that for the fact. Why were they doing that at this point? What's the gimmick? What's the value And that because here's the thing, in that same press conference, Bongino, he said, "Oh, and we're going to be releasing proof shortly that he did indeed kill himself. Like the video doesn't suggest otherwise." I'm like, we don't care about any of that. We want proof of the child trafficking he was in jail for and who was involved with the child trafficking, and we want those lists. That's what we're really asking for. It seemed like a misdirect, or there's something else at play. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Maybe some secrets are just too terrible to be told. It could be that it might be too much, too many powerful people, and they were told to keep a lid on this.
Yeah,
don't go there.
Speaking of not going there, let's look at gold. So gold and silver have been under pressure here in the last couple of weeks, perhaps front running not just what's happening here on the world stage, but also what's happening with the monetary system. But you guys had some fraud being investigated here in a remote viewing. Can you speak to this video here? People can find that, of course, on your Future Forecasting Group website, the full details of it. But what did you find in terms of this gold fraud here?
Well, that was Naeem's data, and he just said there's going to be, boy, I don't remember exactly what the details of that. Some scam involving gold. Oh, you know what? That might have been Fort Knox.
I was going to say
Fort Knox. Yeah.
That's where I was going.
I think he actually said, like they audit Fort Knox and there really isn't all the gold there's supposed to be. I think that's what he was saying. That is Naeem Vendreas, by the way. He's
from Toronto,
up in Canada.
He's in Toronto, right?
Pardon me?
He's in Toronto?
He's in Toronto.
Yeah.
Brilliant young guy, really good remote viewer. And
the folks can go watch that on your YouTube channel here. I'll put the link down in the description. But I want to ask you too, both on these two things. One, in the last year, if we are going to this new administration system or governance system for the planet, big part of that, of course, is the financial system. When Trump took office in January and brought up Musk at the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiencies, they talked about two angles of attack. Well, there was many, but two that were piquing of interest to you and I. One was the Fed audit, and the other one, of course, was the Fort Knox audit. Now, there's been this spat between the two gentlemen. Musk has left the building, so to speak, and we haven't heard back on either Fort Knox or the Fed being audited. That seems to have taken a back burner.
That just faded away, didn't it?
Right.
Let me interrupt. I want to inject something on gold.
Okay.
And Marty Hibbs, our great analyst, and he does segments with you once in a while. And he actually was on you did segments with him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he called, this was last fall at the latest. It may have been last summer. Marty said on our program and on your program, you've got it in your archives, that this was months before. He said he saw gold going to $3,700. This was when it was, I think, under 3,000, and it did in the time frame that he announced on your show. Gold hit 3705. He told you that silver, he saw silver going to $37, and a lot of people, you have a lot of silver fans that tune in with you, and we like Andy Scheckman too. But people say, no, silver's going to go higher than 37. But Marty's call on that was exactly right. So tip of the hat to Marty Hibbs. Where's it? Silver at today, 36. Yeah.
We're just creeping out of this 45-year cup and handle formation. I'm curious, if have you done any new recent remote viewing on silver here for the remaining part of this year? Is it a new target?
We haven't.
No.
We did gold recently, and our data indicates something. It was very complicated. We saw paper, you can't cover all the paper. There's too many contracts. And I think I was defining bonds, but my subconscious, like, there's these paper contracts and there's too many contracts and nothing to back them up. And they're going to need something to back it up. And it's going to be a combination of gold, silver, Bitcoin, and other assets, maybe land, or they're going to have to reconstitute money and bonds using other things other than just printing press.
Right. Do you want to make a wager as to who's going to replace the Fed chair? Do you know? Do you think it's Shelton, Judy Shelton?
Could be. It'll
Yeah.
be. It's got to be somebody better than Powell.
Well, Trump is making waves in the last couple of weeks, telling him he's an idiot here with the interest rates.
But see, our view is that this whole thing's going down. Like the Federal Reserve, the dollar, the Congress. There's going to be a whole new system that's going to be based on distributed ledger, blockchain, facial recognition. Hey, have you traveled much recently? Do you travel internationally?
Not so much, no. No.
Okay. Well, I just took a cruise. I went to Korea in April. So you get to the airport in Korea, and you pretty much just take your passport and put it on a scanner, and then stand in front of a webcam and go.
All the facial stuff, yeah.
Walk in. I went on a cruise ship, and to get on and off the cruise ship, I had to upload my face and then a QR code, and they just use. So they're already using digital ID. Let's play this little sound up. This is the glacier 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I don't have it on the right deck for the audio. Do you need the audio?
Oh, okay. Well, no, there's
use it
just
as B-roll here. That's gorgeous.
I'll narrate it.
Yeah.
So here we are on the cruise ship, and that's the glacier up at the Endicott Arm. And there we are in the cruise ship, and we're all taking pictures, and that's close up at the glacier. This is the Dawes Glacier, and that thing is huge. I mean, that thing is probably 200-300 feet high. We're pretty far away, but this was the Celebrity Edge, and it was just a beautiful morning. Cold for people in Hawaii. We were like 45 degrees. We were just freezing. Huge waterfalls. Alaska is so beautiful. And there's a couple more good shots coming up.
This planet has so many icebergs. This planet has so many beautiful spots like that around the world. You would think.
And you know what? I was seeing that. I really could sense the idea of water evaporating off the ocean, falling on the mountains, melting and coming down and replenishing the land and replenishing the oceans. I really get a sense of the cycle of our environment. Like whoever designed this is a really cool closed system that they made. I mean, we live on an amazing planet. So enjoy every day, try to take it all in.
And our amazing planet has an amazing moon, which may not be a moon. So let's look at that a little bit here.
But is it a natural moon?
It might not be natural. Yeah, okay. Thank you for the correction. So let me bring up the first slide
we
here.
Just did it. Here, let me set this up.
Okay.
We're given, I can't remember the target ID, but we'll look at it when we see this. They give me a target ID, like bring up the first slide. I'll tell you what.
Okay. I don't think the target ID is on it here. This is what I have.
Okay. I can look it up.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Just set it up.
Okay. They give us a random set of numbers and letters.
Yeah.
And it could be anything, anywhere, anytime. So I'm going, I see the moon and I see little technical things. Oh, and I get this sense of all of a sudden I got this tactile, really brief sensation of very cold. And I realized, wow, this is technology that runs on a super cold state that makes gateways. And the idea of helium-3 came into my mind. So with just numbers, all I was told about this target was Q9R0-K8P2. I got the idea of super cold, small little things like chips that don't need a big space to be super cooled. It is super miniature components that are cooled by helium-3. And the target was helium-3 being mined on the moon.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good leap across time and space that I actually said helium-3. And the question is, Are they mining it on the moon, or are they going to mine it on either the moon or Mars? So we'll go to the next slide. Slide number 2.
Is this one here or no? Am I on
No,
the
the
wrong
next.
one?
Oh, I'm sorry. You did it. Okay. Sorry, my mistake. I was,
Okay.
that was my, okay. These are the science guys. These are the, they would be the ones that are designing the use of helium-3. And they're moving from the theoretical, like they've got equations, and I'm not a scientist, but they've devised a way to do something with this, and they're moving from theoretical to functionality. They're observing it, they're nervous, there's some collaboration, and they're watching their complex equations become reality. And what we had throughout the session was a new form of energy computing, and computing that becomes consciousness through the use of miniature chip technology. So those are the guys that are doing it. And then the next one is, I
Hey,
knew that
before we go too far, I'm just let me see if I can bring this up for the audience. I think it was, we have a year on this. In 2015, President Obama signed a Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, which allowed private companies to explore and utilize space resources. In there somewhere, there was debate about a moratorium on suing companies for malpractice in space mining. And I'm like, wait, what? So when you said, are they mining on the moon in the future, or already talking about something that's already happening?
they may already, but well, somebody told me they're already doing it. And the remote viewing data shows that if it's not happening, it's going to be happening soon. So
Okay.
yeah,
Let me
so
bring
that's
the
interesting. I
next
hadn't
slide.
seen that Obama order.
Oh, and I remember doing a show on this. I was like, what is he really talking about? I believe Janine had pulled cards on that episode. We would probably looked at it in around 2019 or 20, and she had the cards, like the yes card, in the past. Like, this wasn't for the future. He was trying to prevent or circumvent them being sued for stuff done in the past, basically, is what the
There's
reading
been,
was coming out to.
yeah, there's been stuff going on the moon for a long time that we're not
Right.
told about.
What's this
Okay,
slide
and
here?
there I drew it. Now, I saw the Earth, and I saw this power grid that was being relayed. I thought it was from the sun, or was it from the moon? I don't know. But I said solar power from space runs this solar collecting satellite platform. And that was, I saw that, but I didn't really understand it. So I don't know the technology of how helium-3 would be extracted, how they would get it here, but something to do with solar collecting panels in space, powering. It's just part of the overall technology that's coming that is going to just blow our minds, that we can't even fathom at this point. What Cliff I call sci-fi world.
Sci-fi world, yeah. Are you picking up on that here, or here are you picking up on? I remember doing another show with you. I think it was on the moon stuff, but there was this electrical grid or fence around the planet that somehow was either breaking down or that we were
I remember
punching
that.
through it.
The dome.
Right. Is this connected to that reading? Maybe.
It could be. It
Yeah.
could be. We have to put it through analysis. Now,
Yeah.
Jean-Claude, a caveat.
Yeah.
Remote viewing is sometimes quite accurate. Sometimes the remote viewer is just wrong. So this could all be bullshit.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, Dick.
This could be complete. I could be crazy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or there could be some truth in what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Or it could literally be true. I try to not make, I'm not the omniscient, great all-seeing person. I'm just a remote viewer. I'm an old newscaster. And I
Hold on. In case we get into too much trouble, everybody's telling me to get off YouTube here. Yes, I'm getting so excited just listening to Dick that I forgot my keywords. Okay, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube now, let me just bring the link to the Rumble feed. You can watch us also.
Oh, did I say a bad word?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
Hold on.
okay.
Let me just bring that link down just again. There you go, guys. Please do come and join us over here on Rumble or on X. And I'm just going to remove the YouTube feed for now. Thank you, guys on YouTube. Please come and join us here.
Why
on
is
the other
this
side.
guy saying